be able to have presented. Really honoured. Such an incredible room full of doctors and PhD doctors and psychiatrists and social workers and psychologists, all looking to try and build the well-being and really be preventative about how organizations support their workforce. So such amazing conversations today. And so being part of that room was pretty exciting.
Cool. And it actually ties in beautifully with our topic, which is setting boundaries and maintaining business relationships. Because for you, were those people all brand new to meeting you?
Yeah, I'd only met one of them, and I'd met Margaret Reed, who's the CEO and founder and organizer of the conference, in 2007 while I was working on APEC 2007 here in Australia. So I haven't actually seen or connected with Margaret since 2007, but she reached out to me because she's been following me for the last 15 years, which is beautiful. And she's thought I'd be a great fit for the conference. So boundaries and connections, so important.
How awesome. And so then what did you do, Jenni, with all those people you're presenting to? How do they then connect with you so that they remember you going forward? Do you share a QR code for your LinkedIn, or do you prefer to ask them to befriend you on Facebook, or how does it work for you?
It was a really interesting question, actually. So in the presentations, the first time I played with this conference, I wasn't quite sure about the whole socials online. And it wasn't until this morning I was like, oh gosh, I should have done the QR code. However, what was really beautiful, and it's actually a really nice reflection because it's the first time I've spoken about it because I only presented this morning, is that I had a heap of people saying to me, I'm going to reach out to you. I found you while you were speaking because I didn't want to forget you and I want to make sure we connect. So I've already found you on LinkedIn. So they're in this particular room, their preferred method of connection is 100% LinkedIn. Professional organizations, these guys are all supporting large and small corporates, supporting their well-being and other employees. So that's their place they play is LinkedIn. But I had about 15 of them actually drop into my inbox and connect with me while I was talking. So that was pretty awesome. And after, I actually just took photos of everybody's name tags, the ones who I didn't necessarily connect with, and said, hey, I'd love to talk to you about and connect with you. And I took a photo of their name badge so that I can reach out to them and actually make that connection. So those who aren't already in my inbox, I've just taken a photo of their name tag, and knowing that LinkedIn is their place to play, that's where I'll reach out to them going forward.
Are you allowed to get their email addresses? Like, does the company that's, brings you on, are they able to give you that database of who attended?
In this one, I'm not actually sure, and I was actually going to ask that question. Normally, when I do conversations and when I'm presenting, that is one of the questions that I ask. This is a small organisation. We had about, I shouldn't say that, there's 120 or so in the room, to be honest, which was amazing.
A lot.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It didn't feel a lot because it was a small room and it was packed. So, but it didn't feel like overwhelmed by the number of people I got to chair with. But it will definitely be reaching out and having a conversation with the organizer in a couple of days just to see whether that's possible. But if normally when I'm presenting, one of the things I do ask for, and actually when I do my MC events up in Brisbane, which I've been doing one almost every week for the last, I don't know, four or 5 months, I always get the email addresses of everybody who attends so that I can connect with them, because it is a really important way to make sure that I reach out to them and say, thanks so much, appreciate your feedback, let's have a chat.
I ask you because I think it's a really tricky area because, for example, I've been running these workshops for years and years and years for a particular company. And after about 3 years, they came back and said, we actually can't give you the database of who's attending anymore. We're legally not allowed to. They've signed up to the workshop that we're running. We blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, it's kind of why I do it. So, they were not the only reason, but that's really important to me, that next piece, in the flow. So I've had to get really creative with ways to get their email addresses while I'm actually presenting. So QR codes, lead magnets, all that kind of stuff is good. But yes, I'm always interested in what people are doing to make sure that is happening. And
it's interesting.
I'd love that they're on LinkedIn with you.
Sorry, Kylie. I was saying that when the MC events, that's what I'm finding at the moment, because when I MC before, sometimes I've gotten remunerated for the MC, but the last ones I've been doing, I know they've outlived their budget. And so I've said to them, I still want to come and do the MC because it's really good for me to show up. I'm going to go to the event anyway. So if I can do the MCing event again, I'm front and center and I'm the one guiding the conversation, and it demonstrates my skill and it demonstrates, social proof for others literally in the room. And so what I've been asking now is to make sure that they include my details in any emails that go out to say thank you to me. Here's Jenni's contact details. But also, and more recently, the organization has recognized the importance of connecting businesses. So they've created, and it's a government agency, but they've created a bespoke SharePoint page that you can sign up to, or they invite you to. And in fact, everybody who signs into that page automatically shares their contact details with everybody else on that page. And what's wonderful about that is now going forward, as we continue to build these events and more people come to these events, that list is growing. So we've now got a central database of everybody who ever comes to those events or has been referred into this SharePoint page, which means now I can actually actively and proactively, without even needing to do all that permissioning thing, I can just reach out and say, hey, I found your details on this. Let's have a conversation. Let's continue the conversation. But it's a really tricky thing. I agree. And one of the things I always try to do when I'm speaking is I ask that question up front. I just didn't in this case because I've just been going through so many other different things and there's been so much going on. It's one of the questions I didn't ask, but I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about you this morning as I looked at my slide deck and went, God damn it, no social links. But when you have a business that's elephant in the room consulting, I'm very lucky that you can Google that and pretty much we're across the whole front page as long as you put elephant in the room consulting. So we're good.
Yes, totally. One thing, I was very impressed with myself. I went off to teach an in-person all-day workshop on Friday. And what I did is I asked them in advance. I said, by the Wednesday prior to it, I'll need to have all the email addresses, please, of everybody that's attending, because I have resources that I need to send to them so that they're prepared for the workshop, which was very much a hands-on workshop. And so they did that. So Wednesday, I sent out a newsletter and told them what they needed to sign up for and, what apps they needed to have ready to go, etc. Then on Thursday night, I created a messenger group just with me and my team and the one guy that was basically in charge of running it from the city council. So then the next morning, as everybody arrived, I showed them it and got them to all join this messenger group. So that meant that all throughout the day, I could be loading stuff in there, running a giveaway through it. And then Amazing. This morning, I could put the presentation slides in there and all of the ways that they could get in touch and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm so glad I did that in advance, because often you remember on the day and then you're just fumbling. And so that was really, really good. And also it fitted in with what I was saying is the importance of Facebook, even for those people that don't like Facebook. It's such a great way to connect with real people. So that, so I was pleased that I did it that way. But that brings me to a topic for you and I, which is that this Saturday, we're going away to Sydney for the Raw Success Awards, which is super exciting. So I'd like to hear what you think that we can share with everybody is, in advance that we're going to meet a whole lot of amazing fellow business owners and we're going to want to connect with them. You think you've got a whole lot of hours there, but you've actually got a finite time. The problem is if you get sat, then you just sit with the people that you're there with. Like, do you have a game plan in advance of who you'd like to meet and connect with? And do you have a game plan of how you're going to, for example, I would have my hi, hello set up and I'm like going, scan this. It's just a QR code, scan it, scan it, scan it. So I don't have to bother with business cards. But how do you do it, Jenni?
So I've actually been thinking about that for the last week or so. So one, yes, I have hi, hello. In fact, the amount of people I've converted to hi, hello, thank you so much for that. Because I have multiple businesses, but I've also got my personal details. So I have 3 business cards set up in hi, hello, depending on whether it's my personal contact, elephant in the room, or in Digimesh. So we have that difference. So hi, hello, 100% with you on that. What I'm also going to do, though, is my focus is really on that VIP event. So we've decided to do the VIP event on that evening. And I think that's really important. And for me, it was a strategic decision because it's the judges that are going to be at that event. So while it's great to connect with the other business owners, I want to connect with, in the work that I do, which is around building business strategy and connecting and understanding that kind of big picture engagement, is if I can connect with the judges have seen every application. They've seen every contestant or person who's applied for that role for the awards. So connecting with them and getting to talk about my business, what I found is they're the ones who can then help me connect with others. So rather than me having to work the whole room and say, hey, I've got to try and connect, with 150 people there, that, however many people who will be on the judging panel will get to meet each of them. I'm going to chat to them. I'm going to ask them questions about the types of people who applied and why they shortlisted, and all those questions about how we were lucky enough to be, shortlisted and finalists. That will help me grow my understanding of what makes a finalist application and how I can do better in the future. But also, I get to understand the way they think and understand their connection. So for me, my game plan is that VIP event, connecting with everybody in that room. And then from there, everyone above that will be gravy.
Yeah, wonderful. So last year when I went to that event, I was just excited to see all the people that I knew because I hadn't seen them in person for a very, very long time. Some of them I'd never met in person. I'd only ever known them online. So that was really my big thing. I was just excited about that. This year, I'm like, okay, I've got to do it differently. Of course, I'm pumped to see them, but I also want to meet, like, there's so many of them that later on I was like, oh, I wish I'd actually said hi to you in person. I didn't see you there. That I want to make an effort to make sure that I do see them and connect.
And I think it's really important. I mean, our topic today was really around setting boundaries and maintaining business relationships and all these aspects, whether you're presenting at a conference, whether you're attending awards, or even submitting an application into awards, even grant applications. Up here in Brisbane, we've got the Lord Mayor of Brisbane Women in Business grants. So it's a huge pool. It's only a small amount of money, but they've got a huge amount of funds available for businesses who are women in business who've been trading for the last year and are looking to get a small grant to basically boost their business. So not state government. This is a Brisbane City Council Lord Mayor's Award. So even the application process for that means that your business is now in front of the Brisbane City Council Awards panel, which includes not just members from the City Council, but some other people. So that, again, is a really great way to boost and maintain and build relationships, is through awards and grants, because your name starts to be kind of flitted and fluttered around, conversations around tables and things like that. But the next piece, I think, and the boundary piece, I think, is really important. And I know we're only going to have a couple of minutes to talk about it, and maybe we can talk about it with our awards next week. But the setting boundary piece is really important because particularly when you're going to awards events, when you're submitting applications, there's that fine line between connecting with them, knowing who they are and building a relationship, and being able to maintain that professionalism when you're looking at contracts or bidding or tender applications and things like that. So this idea of boundary application, setting boundaries, is really different when you're starting to play in spaces around awards, delivering speeches, presenting it, at conferences, and also submitting grant applications, because the boundaries become really important, and it's more about promotion than it is about direct connection, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the boundaries one is an interesting one because for me, especially on Friday, people saying, oh, no, I'm not putting my personal Facebook out there. It's definitely locked down for friends only. And I was showing them, actually, you get way more reach on your business stuff, and Facebook are encouraging you to do it. So you get way more reach from your personal doing business stuff, but also you can still have it locked down. You can still have it private and just make public the ones you want to put out there and make super private the other ones. So I think there's so much misinformation out there about it or misunderstanding. So having your boundaries set, I'm going to share this kind of stuff on publicly, and this kind of stuff is only private, and that's great. It's just understanding what you want to do.
And that to me is really important, and particularly for you and I who work from home, that boundaries become really important, right? Because it's about, I know most of us work online. Most of us, well, you and I work particularly online, even from our homes, but there are times where I have clients come into my home. So those boundaries don't just have to extend to what you show them online, it's also what you show them in your life. So we're lucky we've got a back gate. I can say, hey, we're going to catch up and have our coaching session on our back gate, on our back porch, and they don't have to come inside. Or you can funnel them in and say, hey, this is the room that we're going to sit in, and there's the toilet. That's the only parts of the house they can see. So boundaries don't have to extend just on a physical online. It can also be when you're actually engaging with your clients in business. And we do that all the time. When you go to a corporate building or go into someone's office, they don't take you into the back end where the corrals are. They take you into the beautifully appointed, fridge-stocked meeting room with amazing Wi-Fi and comfortable chairs, when you know everyone's out the back sitting in a bull ring, kind of slogging away. So that kind of idea of how you show up and how you display is really where boundaries come into play, because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we talked around branding, right? We talked about how we show up, and your boundaries also reflect importantly on your branding and your values alignment for your business.
Absolutely. So next week, Jenni, when we talk about our experience with the awards and how we've been able to, I was about to say levitate from them. I don't even know what was going on there.
Leverage. We might be levitating when we both win all the awards and take them all home.
And I think that whether we win or not, for me anyway, is irrelevant. It's the fact that I've already got exposure from it. Just being a finalist is so absolutely awesome. And to be in the same space with some incredible, inspiring business owners. So I think being able to chat about how we can then leverage from that experience, what we learn from being with the judges in that VIP room, etc. So, the importance of getting into and putting yourself out of your comfort zone and entering awards.
And it doesn't really matter whether it's awards, whether it's presentations, whether it's you going and doing a face-to-face workshop because your focus has been an online business. All of those things are stepping out of our comfort zone just a little. But every time you do that, you build new relationships, but you also extend the type of relationships you already have with those clients. So I have had relationships with a lot of clients over online or through activities like Zoom or Teams, but as soon as I get to meet them face to face and I'm sharing a cup of tea in person, or we're talking about how great the morning tea or lunch was, your connection shifts from that online professional into sort of something that's personal, and it's not forced, it just happens organically. So I think that idea of maintaining and building relationships has to flow, but we also need to think outside the way we do business into different ways about how our clients and our prospective clients and our connections want to connect. Like, I love face-to-face connection. So our Empire Mastermind is always face-to-face. And I've sometimes thought, will Empire Builders be online? And I really don't want it, because I love those 3 days of sitting down and deep diving and having those organic conversations. However, I also know the power of group coaching online, when you have people from all across the world sometimes, which I know you have a lot of international people who drop into your webinars. Having that diversity allows you to get such a rich engagement with your team and with your clients that you don't necessarily get when you have to choose a single location. So I think this is when we're thinking about building and maintaining relationships. For me, just like it is about how we promote, we have to think about how our audience is going to receive us, but also how our clients want to connect. And to me, that's why when going to the Raw Awards this weekend, hanging out with you for the weekend, which I'm so looking forward to me is also about saying, how do we extend our relationship? We're going to be coming up with probably 1,000 new ideas of things that we need to do next year. And we're going to have to check ourselves a little bit and be like, what can we do? But that's the value, isn't it, of having those different relationships.
Totally. I want to bring up one thing. I know we're at our end time, but one thing I really feel is important to say is last week I was away for 3 days at this JT Fox seminar, which was just extraordinary. And I learned a lot from it. And one thing I noticed, though, that was frustrating is that the whole thing was a one-on-one coaching 3 days. So people would go and sit in the hot seat for anywhere from half an hour to an hour and be coached by him publicly in front of everybody. So that was super fascinating for me as a business coach watching this, take place. I really, really loved it. What I noticed, though, is that very few people, when they were saying, hi, I'm blah, blah, even mentioned their business name. So what I wanted to do straight away was jump on my phone, check out their Instagram, check out their Facebook, check out their LinkedIn. Sometimes by the end of their entire coaching session, we still had no idea who they were. We knew what they did and all of that. So, and it wasn't the sort of scenario that anyone could just pipe up and say, oh, you haven't told me what your Instagram is. Some of them did, but more of them did not. So by the end of it, and also there was very, very small amounts of time for networking and chatting. So by the end of it, when I left, I would say 2/3 of the room, I had no idea how to connect with them going forward. There was no Facebook group set up for those people there, etc. So I thought that was a really interesting aspect of it. And I think it's so important to keep supporting each other when you've met in that environment. So one thing that I did as much as I could of the minute that their business name was mentioned, I was frantically trying to search for them, send them a private message, send them a direct message. And we've had some lovely connections since then. So I think that's really important to think about who you're meeting, how you're going to connect with them, and then how you'll keep that going.
I'm so happy that you raised that, because to me, that's the community element, right? You and I have spoken to this. In fact, when I first met you, that's one of the things that drew me to you, is your understanding and your ability to manage and maintain and grow community, right? That's what I was so attracted to. And it's such an important element now, is how do we maintain and build communities? And it doesn't matter whether, obviously his model is not about communities, it's about him and his coaching programs. And that's cool. That works for him. He's incredibly successful. And the people who go to the workshops that he runs obviously are drawn to that. But for me, like you, I would be saying, where's the community that I'm getting out of this as well? Where is my support structures that are going to help me navigate what it is to be part of your programs? So I'm so pleased that you raised that, because that's that building relationships, maintaining relationships. So not just going, hey, who is in the room? It's then saying, what does that connection look like, and how do I maintain that? So even next week, when we, on Monday, when we have a chat next Monday after the Raw Awards, it's about, okay, who do we connect with? Who are we still connecting with? Working with my team to make sure that we do, like and follow and share posts of the people that we've met, the people that have resonated with us, so that we do create community. Because otherwise, it's a lonely business being a business owner. It's, hanging out on your own in your home office, doing everything online only works to a point. We can only grow if we do it as a community.
Absolutely. And one of the best things JT Fox said was he's had the same business coach for the last 11 and a half years, and he meets with him weekly. And I'm like, yeah. He said, without a doubt, it is the most important thing you can do in your business. And I was like, yes, to us who have always coached each other. And, we're really clearly both also being business coaches, big believers in that. So, there were many amazing, amazing takeaways that I got from spending that time. There's one thing I love that Raw Success Awards do, is they have a Facebook group. So you're in there once you're a finalist and you're connecting with people.
I love that. So I'm excited to see you, on Saturday for Raw Awards. Woo! And connecting with those amazing people, but also next week to talk a little bit about the value of that promotion, how we do build and grow through promotions, not just through socials, but how do we actually leverage things, like you said, like the Raw Awards, maybe presentations, which are the awards that we want to go to that align with what we're doing. So not just awards for awards' sake, but what is going to help us build and grow our profile as we grow our business.
Absolutely. I can't wait to talk about that with you and to see you on Saturday, get a little hair and makeup done and feel a bit zhushy.
Well, look out for the photos on Saturday night, everybody. But thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Bite-Side Business Life podcast, which has been a bit of a random conversation about building, maintaining, and connecting with people. But sometimes that's what happens. Be sure to subscribe and follow us so you don't miss any future episodes and amazing conversations that we have with the amazing Kylie. I look forward to seeing you next week. Kylie, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Have fun in Sydney, Jenni. Bye.